what's gonna be the? Okay, what's good, Sharjeel? You got something to say?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. Yeah, hi guys. I am from Pakistan. I just
Imran Khan. Are you a supporter of Imran Khan?
Yeah. Absolutely. I am a supporter of him.
Okay. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing he has widespread support of the people in Pakistan.
Absolutely. It can be seen all around the world. They're protesting for what has been happening in Pakistan for the past few days.
Are they controlled by the West?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That is what Imran Khan has actually said in the past few days, which has actually backfired since he has made those statements. He instantly has been his government has been, toppled down through a vote of no confidence by the opposing parties, who have absolutely nothing in common except with their ties to their American Western masters. And all of Pakistan, the people residing here are, we can see this clearly, how blatantly the U.S. can interfere in, small countries like third world developing countries like Pakistan, like Sri Lanka.
Talk your shit, Sharjeel. Talk your shit, bro. Hell yeah, you spit facts.
Yeah, man. So this is like pretty sad, and I'm really happy that there are a group of guys like you out there who are actually worried and concerned about such stuff happening and being pulled out by the United States of America. It's no joke. We've had numerous presidents assassinated in our history. We are just 70 years young. Our country is 70 years old. We got freedom in 1947 from, and we're just living we've not recovered from this post-colonial crisis that Europe, laid upon the rest of the world. And they actually stole from these countries and brought about the Industrial Revolution. And, they pushed forward their agendas and they became superpower then. And the next bad guy is America now. All of a sudden, everybody forgets about what Europe did, what British did and colonized all of, this place, which is still yet to be recovered. But instead of helping us, we are constantly being harassed and being toppled off by these foreign powers. Ayub Khan was the first person who got assassinated. Then we have Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, if you know. He was hanged after he denied he was, forcefully went forward in making the nuclear bombs for Pakistan that we had the right to. Because, come on, seriously, what kind of democracy would the world be if some countries have more rights than the other countries, right? So I believe in an equally, since we're a global village, countries should be treated equally, and there shouldn't be any such thing that this country has more superiority over another. All countries are sovereign. Everybody, their people, live in there.
Does Pakistan have nuclear weapons, Sharjeel?
Yes, we are a nuclear state, and thus we have all the more responsibility to be a more peaceful and a more stable nation, so that we can. Since we have India as our neighbor, we were independent. We found independence together. We had one day. It's just the one we got independence on 14th of August 1947. They got on 15th August 1947, both from Britishers, right? And when the Britishers left, interestingly, they just left us in a fight between India and Pakistan by not drawing the complete border on Kashmir. Which is why Pakistan and India have been fighting since the past 70 years and forgetting who the real culprits were. Which is great. The West has always been great in deviating from the real mess. They're going to creating mess and backing away from that mess.
And to add, Sharjeel, and then you have the CIA, and then you have Interpol, and then you have Hamas intervening in areas like the Kashmir, right, where it's a hot spot because of that the geopolitical history, right? And then you see the same thing is with Ukraine not to deviate, but what you see here is you see a conflict between Russia and Ukraine that's been brewing since 2014. They've been fighting since 2014. The globe is just now understanding this. You feel me? And with that being said, you feel me, Sharjeel? You see where I'm going with it? That intervention.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is like just completely dual standards that are being set by the West for the rest of the world. You know, if one thing happens in Ukraine, you're allowed to protest in football, you're allowed to protest elsewhere. But if something goes wrong in Israel, something goes wrong in Libya or in Iraq or in Pakistan, you know, you're suddenly, you can't criticize anything. And you're the bad guy if you're doing it. You're suddenly...
But Sharjeel, and just to emphasize everything you just said, because you just touched on a lot of geographical areas that are hotspots that do affect everyone globally, since the United States now has such a strong arm globally. So whatever they do globally is now not only affecting us, it's now affecting people in India, it's affecting people in Ukraine. And like you said, brother, you know, it's this intervention, it's this fueling, it's this military-industrial complex that will not survive without war. The United States, in its less than 300 history, has only been at peace for 16 years, Sharjeel. You feel me? And I'm sure you've seen the result of that.
Absolutely. I think the problem majorly there is that war has become a profitable business for all of these oblivionaires in the United States of America. You feel me? Because, you know, if people are profiting from war, they're companies, they're big companies, they're big industrialists, they're big businessmen who are just profiting off of war. I've heard that people are betting on different, you know, economies of countries going up and down. And, I mean, this is some elite level shit. This is some
you can't even imagine what type of stakes they're putting up. Like, they're putting up about dollar amounts that 20 of your generations will never see, just because they've held so much hegemony for so many centuries. It's fucking evil. Filthy creatures, as my brother Connor calls them. Filthy creatures. Filthy fucking colonizers. They're evil.
Could I add
they're
something
demonic
to this? And I want to ask Sharjeel this. Because he mentioned nuclear weapons, right? And off of that topic, you know, I just did a quick Google search, and it says, as of November 2020, India has 22 nuclear reactors. So that's just telling me that you guys are maybe dealing with a power issue. Am I correct?
He's in Pakistan, brother.
There is a power issue in Pakistan. Yeah, I am from Pakistan.
Is the same thing in Pakistan also?
Right, there is a power shortage in Pakistan, but that is majorly because of the incompetencies of our politicians that have handled the state.
Hegemony.
What I really think that is a code for is actually nuclear power and basically energy independence. Because, you know, nuclear power was started off of energy independence before it was ever developed into a nuclear weapon. And this is something that they went after Saddam. He was just trying to make nuclear power plants, and they were trying to say that he was trying to develop a nuclear weapon. And this is the reason.
Weapons of mass destruction, right?
Yeah, they use that as a context to go in and police, you know, those people, because he was just trying to be more energy independent. And I find that America and these governments does that a lot to these third world underdeveloped countries that are, you know, are hungry for more energy independence. You know, they don't want to be attached to the West no more. They want to be more independent. And I see that as a context of them just using nuclear weapons as a pretext instead of just saying they don't want them to be energy independent.
Mm, I hear you, Jamar. You might be right in some points. I'm not gonna lie. But let me just put a question out to you guys here. What would you do if there was an enemy state or enemy states that were nuclear powers? How would you defend yourself, or how would you plan to defend yourself? What would be the most
covert operations to destabilize those countries?
Can I say
covert?
Can I say this? I don't think the world properly understands what nuclear weapons are and what nuclear power is.
I understand.
You understand? Okay, because I've actually seen.
We were about to go to war with India, very recently. Just back in, a few months back, India, there were some fighter jets that crossed over our border, and they tried to throw down they tried to bomb a certain place, and they tried to claim that we bombed some terrorists. None were killed. There were just a few trees that were bombed, and there were no casualties or no collateral damage. So, but our Air Force strike back. They got the planes. One of their Air Force pilots fell into Pakistan. Pakistan had their Air Force pilot. Then what happened? India suddenly, all of a sudden, locked all the nukes, 4 nukes at Pakistan. Right? Now, they were threatening or blackmailing Pakistan into returning their Air Force pilot, which we were going to in any ways. But this kind of threat, how do you deal with such a threat? A country that is like 5 times bigger than us, which is like many times bigger than us, economically, population-wise, in every way. How does a small country defend itself when it comes with such neighboring countries that are not very stable and have a very fascist kind of government? The Modi's regime is very fascist, like the Nazis, like the RSS. So Pakistan, in retaliation, just to deter the attack, we had to lock 8 nukes back at them until other people intervened and told them not to do so. We obviously never ever gonna involve ourselves into a nuclear fight, right? USA is definitely not the right person to be schooling people about a nuke, because it's the first country and the only country that has nuked Japan. We all know this. So it doesn't make any sense.
Most violent.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. And look at Israel. Israel has nukes. It keeps on developing nukes. It doesn't answer. Now, Pakistan is the only threat in the Muslim world. The only nuclear state. Yep, I'm listening.
Sharjeel, Israel used Palestinians as live fire training practice, basically. As you know, and then not only that, with these illegal settlements that these Israelis are creating on Palestinian land, and then they have the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, then they come in and then they protect these Israeli squatters on this Palestinian lands, and the numbers are insane. I just came across this study. I think it's about 750,000 Israeli squatters on Palestinian land being protected by the IDF. Like, what? What, Sharjeel? You feel me?
Yeah, this is like insane, sir.